I thought like I conquered the world, and it was the reality because where I come from, the middle class family.
What kind of job did you do and how did you get started?
So basically, I started with a job, housekeeping job. I still remember applying more than 600, 700 jobs, Rudra. If I keep doing this, I'm not going to go any far. That's when we need to figure out what can I do different now so that I'll have different results.
You also went
Yes.
accounting firm after accounting firm and
Yes.
distributing your resume personally.
When you visit companies in person, give the resume, they're not willing to talk to you, they don't give you time.
How did you think during those hard times?
One thing that I was not ready to give up, what I learned throughout the whole process of these struggles and challenges and achievements was more than 80% is your soft skills, like how we speak, how confident we are. When we enter the room, what vibe we get them. Are we nervous? Are we confident? Are we smiling?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my show, The Impact Diaries, where I bring various successful and professional people to learn from their stories and enrich our lives. Today we have a very exceptional guest. He came to Australia 7 years ago as an international student and started his journey. Even though coming from government school background and having very weak English speaking skills, he worked really hard on his way up to become a senior accountant, business development manager, driving more than $250,000 sales for his company, and currently working as an account manager for financial services group. So we are going to learn about his ups and downs, challenges he faced when he was studying and working multiple jobs, challenges he faced when he tried really hard to get his first professional job and on getting permanent residency. And I would like you to watch this podcast up till end because I'm going to give you a really good opportunity, a chance to connect with Bupesh later on. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Bupesh Kumar Ray on this show. Bupesh, welcome to my show.
Thank you. That's great. Glad.
It's really great to have you here.
Yeah, glad to be here. First of all, congratulations to you for starting the podcast, and I'm sure so many people, international students, will be impacted through this. So yeah, glad to be in this so with you today.
I'm really excited, and I appreciate your that comment, and it is because of that comment, that thought, that I chose to start this journey.
Yeah.
I would like to go directly into our topics. However, would you maybe like to share about yourself that I might have missed during my introduction?
No, you said well. Been in this country for the last 7 years. Came in 2018 as an international student. I did my master's in professional accounting for 2 years. Got my temporary residence for another 2 years. And now working, as a full-time manager, have a family here. So I'm living in Sydney. So you beautiful mentioned, very well. Yeah.
Wonderful. We are definitely going to deep dive into each of those aspects that you talked about today. Yeah. But let's start with something, let's relive some memories.
Yeah.
And remember the time you got your visa to come to Australia and you had that expectations. You have the dreams, generally everybody does. And we have this fantasy that we are going to have a great journey in Australia. We are influenced by those Facebook and Instagram posts of our friends and families, right? However, when we come to Australia, the reality is a little different. And there's a gap between the expectations and reality. And so many people cannot bridge those gaps. They are lost in their life. They lose their identity. They lose their ability to get professional job, get permanent residency, or have a really hard time doing that. You, on the other hand, actually shortcut this process. Within 7 years, you are well settled, have a PR and everything. So I would like to ask you, what were your expectations before you came to Australia? And how did you find Australia for first few weeks, let's say?
Oh my gosh. So it's hard to go back, like 7 years back. But if you see, 7 years has gone, just very quickly. I still remember coming to airport, and even before that, I remember getting the student visa, plus 500 for Australia. It was one of the best feeling. I thought like I conquered the world, and it was the reality because where I come from, the middle class family, the education was always important. My dad, mom always taught me to study well, get a good job. But I just wanted to do more in life. So I was, if I come to Australia, if I go abroad, then I'll be able to expose myself more into the international student education system, and also I'll have some better opportunities, because Australia is a land of opportunities, right? So when you get the visa, plus your friends and families are here, you see all those Facebook posts, as you said. You see people going to Opera House, Harbour Breeze, Bondi
Yeah.
Beach, and posting that picture. You get that Hollywood feeling and things like that. I was pretty much motivated by those things as well, but the purpose was, of course, to uplift the family's lifestyle and eventually get the global opportunities in Australia.
Great.
But as you said, Rudra, when you come here, the reality is different. For first week is like always fun. You go and visit. You don't have any work to do. You take pictures. You post on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere. Once you are here for the first week, you get some kind of like a different world here. Travel, you have to get the Opal card. You tap Opal card. It just opens up the gate. It lets you get in the train. Then you go to your destination. Again, you have to tap off. So never imagined that in my life, that technology is that far. You go to work, you have a conversation with the people, local people here, Aussies, and you don't understand anything, like what they're saying, like 3-4 sentences, and you just guess what they could be doing, speaking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the major challenges as you come to like Australia and when you are new is the cultural shock.
Yeah.
Right? You don't speak those languages. And even though you have spoken a lot of English back in Nepal, but when it comes in here, it's really hard. The accent is different, and it takes quite a bit of time to actually adapt that new environment. And let's actually go into your early days of your job. What kind of job did you do and how did you get started?
So basically, I started with the housekeeping job. They gave me training for 2 days. On third day, I was working. I worked like 8 hours of shift, and they only paid me like for 3 hours. That's how you have done, for the per room or things like that. I didn't like the concept, plus the job, and so I thought, okay, I quit it. I will get another job. So then I started as a kitchen hand, Rudra.
Really?
Yeah, kitchen hand. I worked there for a few months. I didn't like it, but then that's how you program in your mind by all the people who have already been here. You have to work hard, go to cleaning, kitchen hand jobs. So yeah, I did that for a few months, and luckily I had applied the job through Gumtree. Not sure if remember Gumtree.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
those were like really good job hunting application in early days.
Yeah, exactly.
It still is, I
still
think.
there, yeah, for the odd jobs, and so many other things. But then I got this kitchen assistant job for a catering company, a catering project company. So basically, I was there assisting in the kitchen, doing all the packaging thing. Sending this to different companies. You get excited when you start earning, right?
Yeah.
And you are not earning in rupees. Here you are earning in dollar. so you look at that figure. In the initial days, I remember getting my first college break, having that desire to work hard and get more savings. So when I have a college, I'll be able to pay my college fees. If I need to support my family, I'll be able to support, and all those living expenses. I also work in construction as well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I mean, it was...
How's that?
It was not easy. It's very laborious.
Very physical, I guess.
Laborious job, yeah. Good thing is I had already done all the hard work in Nepal, because I was born in an agriculture environment. So it was not that difficult for me. Those were few jobs that I was doing. Plus, you might remember, me doing Uber Eats as well. I did that for a very, very long time when I was riding a scooter, delivering the foods and everything.
Wonderful. I would like to, as you came from, you work in banking back in Nepal before you came to Australia, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as you came, you started a job. In sometimes, we think those as an odd job from which you cannot make a lot of impact in the society, right? And how was your self-image and how did you feel working in those odd jobs environment?
That's a very, very good question, Rudra, because when I came to Australia for first few months, first few weeks was very glamorous, because you are working, you're speaking in English. You try to understand even though you don't understand. However, I was programmed for that hard work, because so many people told me beforehand that you need to work hard, kitchen hand, cleaning and odd jobs. So I was programmed for that. But then again, once I worked for a few months, and you realize that, oh my goodness, I've been working, I've been studying, doing assignments, making money as well. But then you are not progressing in life.
Yeah, right.
You feel like you are stuck, your skills is not growing, because if you are working like in odd jobs and things like that, your skill doesn't grow. I felt like there is a cap, in my potential, because I was already working in a bank, back home. I only worked for a few months, but then, it was a good feeling there. But then when you come here, you start from the ground with the odd jobs. The self-image like goes down.
Yeah.
And
And what did you do about it?
once I realized, after some time, I realized, man, if I keep doing this, I'm not gonna go any far. So what I did was, when I was working odd jobs, when I studied, I started finding the better opportunities. For instance, I was like, I do have like a few hours, maybe 1 or 2 hours left. What I can do, how I can improve. I started finding the better jobs. I started finding the better jobs than the previous one. So you just climbing the ladder. At the same time, I started networking with the people. So not sure if you remember, but we met in one of the networking events.
I very clearly
it-
remember that.
Yeah, it was called Power to Achieve. Do you remember the Andy
Harrington's,
Harrington guys?
Yeah, right. It was such a wonderful event that day,
Yeah.
and of course, I got to meet you.
Yeah.
We had a wonderful connections, and
Yeah.
then we became friends very quickly.
100%.
And since then, we are like really great friends
100%.
for forever, I'm guessing.
Exactly, 100%. Especially with that desire of being in that event came from not being satisfied with where you are. Because I was working, I was making money, I was going to uni, I was paying my college fees, life was good. But there is a difference between a good life and a great life, right?
Yes.
So when you are chasing the great life, you find the ways. That was the initial phase of started meeting new people, focusing on that skills that we really need to learn. From your initial expectation to coming and seeing the reality, language barrier, the cultural shock and everything, to getting settled where you are. And then realizing, oh my God, this is not why I'm here for, because I came Australia
Correct.
for the better opportunities, like to impact, more people, like to have a better lifestyle, right? That's when these kind of thing started happening for me.
So basically, what you are saying is that when you come to Australia as a student, you might have to get into any odd jobs so that you can start to make a living and then get your finances right. However, you also need to keep looking better opportunities that where your value aligns, and keep looking those opportunities on side and growing through that. That is a really good and inspiring story. Sometimes, the people, they come to Australia, they start getting into one job and they stick in the same job for a very long period of time. I've seen numerous people like that. And what we want to do is stick to that until you get a better opportunity.
Better opportunities, 100%. I like the idea, because I see so many brothers and sisters, they study IT, they are into kitchen, they study accounting, they are somewhere else. And that's not good for long term, right? I always say, people, if we are living here, loving this country for long term, then it's very important to like what you're doing, but at the same time, you see that some PR pathways that you can be here. So both factor comes into the picture.
Totally. Right, so let's go into your basically the uni life. What did you study and where did you study? Can you give us a little bit of background on that?
Yeah, sure. So I came to study at Central Queensland University, CQU. I was doing my Masters of Professional Accounting.
As a student, there's like multiple priorities that goes on in life, right? You have a study, you have a job that you have to manage. There's a financial aspect which is so crucial. So were you able to make enough money in order to provide finances, in order to pay your uni fee totally? Or, what kind of challenges you faced into that area?
I would say that the breaks that I had between semesters, like you study 2 semesters and then you have 4 months of break and you have another one, that was the very key part for me, because that's where I was doing multiple jobs together and saving good money. So when I have a uni started like 3 days, I don't have to work that hard.
So basically, you did multiple jobs during your summer break and all, right?
Absolutely.
And you also said that you did a job in the kitchen. You also did a lot of deliveries. Is that all you did in order to get your finances right? Just 2 jobs or?
Yeah, I mean, during the college breaks, it was more than that. Like I would do like construction, I will do kitchen hand, I will do deliveries.
Right.
Because you're working like a couple of jobs, 2-3 jobs together, right?
Yeah. That's really wonderful, and I think this would be very inspiring to so many people that they will have to do a multiple jobs and it is okay. how do you think, as a student
Mhm.
and juggling with multiple jobs,
Mhm.
how do you think one should use their free times? How did you do that?
I thought like I don't have free time when I was a student. Like you work multiple jobs, you have study and assignments, you go to uni. Then I started realizing, my goodness, it's been like a few months now. I'm not going somewhere. Like I'm just being busy.
Being stuck in life.
A big stuck in life, yeah. And being busy doesn't mean you are productive. It doesn't mean you are going somewhere in life, right? So that's when we need to figure out what can I do different now, so that I'll have different results. Because if we keep doing the same thing and same thing, which I was doing, odd jobs, study, assignment, come home, cook, sleep, and go, not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But then I realized, in order to have a different results, the different results I was expecting is becoming a better version of myself, a better communicator, getting that skill, having know more people who are in our field, who are like-minded. So I figured out the ways, like, no matter how busy I was, I already had like, 1 or 2 hour a day. Because we are not that busy, right? Either we are in Instagram or Facebook and other things like that.
So what did you do? Like, did you watch YouTube videos? Did you meet with people? How did you become productive like in those times?
A couple of things I did. I was watching a lot of TED Talks. So that was my time to go to work, come back home. That watching the TED Talk, gave me the new perspective. Then, as I said before, you and me met in one of the networking events.
Yes.
To achieve, I started exploring people. I started finding people who can help me guide in Australia. Because if ourselves, we are finding ways through it, it will take long time.
Long time, of
But then I
course.
started meeting people. I met few people who were very instrumental in where I am today. So maybe I'll talk about that later. But that's what I found, like knowing more people, networking with the people, getting that skills right. It just comes from us being not satisfied where we are. Because when we are not satisfied, we'll find the ways, and we'll always have a free time whenever need.
So basically, when you come to Australia, it is very important to have a guidance of the people who are like successful in the field that you want to get into.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, it makes such a big difference. I have so many stories which is related to that.
Yeah.
However, now let me take you after you finished your study, right? You juggle multiple jobs, you earned your degree, and now you are looking forward to get into your professional world and also getting permanent residency in this country, right? Because that is also very important for the peace of your mind and the future you want to build in this country. So let's particularly look at your professional job. How did you get your professional job, and what did you have to go through in order to get it?
I would say the work is started before even I graduated. Before I even landed a casual job in accounting, I had to start beforehand.
So beforehand you started,
Yeah.
like before even you got your degree,
Yeah.
you started doing something so
Yes.
that you could get job.
Exactly.
Well,
And,
that's interesting.
Exactly. Like, because when you get like you don't dig the well when you're thirsty, right? You dig the well before you are thirsty. I was fortunate because we were in the networking events, meeting people, and the people that we met, they suggested me to do the course, like a tax course, which was like 2-3 months course offered by H&R Block School, a tax school. So I did that, and I got prepared even beforehand, because to get a professional job, what I realized, Rudra, was it's not how much you know the technically. It's not about how much good accountant you are. It's not just about like how much IT knowledge you have. It's about the soft skills that we can get that will place us into the professional job. I remember, going through so much of failure. Like once I had those, resume ready, once I had everything ready, I did the course. I got the good marks, 85, out of 100. That led me to get a casual job with the H&R Block. Once I did that for a few months.
So basically, H&R Block is where you did your some sort of practice, some sort of training. Is that what it is?
So what they do is they offer you the course. There is a couple of $100, that we need to pay. And after that, there is exam. If you pass the exam, then they give you the job as well. So
great.
that was a good, for me to get the exposure on that. But then again, that came from someone who was experienced, who had already done that. That's why it's more important to network with the people, know more people, and see who can be your help. Because when you go to job, come back home, go to job, come back home, and go to study and come back home, there's not much meeting new people, right? So that becomes very crucial. And after that, once I started casual with HR block, I then applied for a full-time job because I was about to get my temporary residence. That's when I applied for the job. And then I still remember applying more than 600, 700 jobs, Rudra, like online.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Damn.
from seek.com, I was using the LinkedIn, I was using indeed.com and all those things, and getting so many rejection after rejection after rejection. Because when you don't have the local experience of a full-fledged accounting, because HR block was only a small part of accounting, that's when they were like so many rejection.
How did you think? How was your mental mindset? How did you think during those hard times?
One thing that I was not ready to give up, that there is a movie, not sure if you have watched it, but there is a movie called The Founders. It's about the McDonald's and how it were expanded.
I have watched that.
Yeah,
that is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, exactly. And the what Gray or Reg, he talks about one word is a perseverance, right? So when you never give up, when you persevere through these failures, but then again, as a student or as someone who is wanted to be in the professional field, I think we need to see that end of the tunnel. Where we have that long-term mindset. Doesn't matter how much failure we get. I got maybe more than 10 interviews and got my first job. It's very exciting. But I'll tell you, even more exciting part is after being a few weeks in the job, I was not able to perform the full-fledged of accounting because I never did accounting before. So very hard to especially know the laws, rules and regulations, everything, and they kicked me out.
Really?
From the job, yeah.
In how many months?
It was a few weeks.
Really?
Yeah, a few weeks, because they give you chance for a few weeks. But then their expectation was higher. They were looking for someone who could take more lead. Then I was a graduate accountant. My confidence was so good that they thought I do have all the skills, because they didn't check any skills. But then it was like an expectation versus reality.
Basically, the company has a probation period, right? Which is like 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah,
but in this case, I find it really interesting that they didn't have something like that and just shagged you in a few weeks, right?
Yeah, that's why. Like when you're on a probation period, they are able to let you go at any point of time. When I realize now, it is a good learning. And I remember after that job, I was about to go to regional because I had to get my permanent residency. I was looking for jobs, things like that. And then I got a good guidance. I met a few people. They were like, why don't you look for a job in the place where we are going, and then move there. And I remember getting 3 job offers. So one was from Tasmania, another was from Wollongong, and another was from Gosford, Central Coast, which is close to Sydney.
Right.
And I got a good guidance in saying, Gosford is a better option. And I looked for a job because I had experiences and failures in the past. I could get the job in my own field before even I moved to regional. That was an achievement that just didn't come. It came from experience, like the failures and knowing some people around me. So that was an awesome journey. Then I worked there for 2.5 years, and that led me to get a PR. So all the struggles that you're going through, not being able to find the job, as you mentioned, the challenges of students or anyone who wants to get a professional job is they give up too quick.
They give up too quick.
They give up too quick. They get demotivated. But if we just focus on the longer term of what we want, then it is easier.
So basically, you need to have a burning desire and, as you said, not to give up until you get that job.
Yeah.
And there's also a way you can mold yourself in getting that different training from H&R blocks, connecting with people. And in terms of, different avenues that we can use to get a job, how many different ways did you try? I've heard from a little bit of story from you that you also went accounting firm after accounting firm and distributing your resume personally. How was that journey?
When you visit companies in person, give the resume, they're not willing to talk to you, they don't give you time. But then,
and also you have so much of limitation in your mind, like what people are going to think. Are they going to accept me or not?
Exactly.
Right. And there's a lot of doubts on this will if that come.
100%.
isn't it?
I remember like printing the resume, going to accounting firms, distributing them. Few people were positive, most of them were negative.
Yeah.
What I learned throughout the whole process of these struggles and challenges and achievements was more than 80% is your soft skills, like how we speak, how confident we are. When we enter the room, what vibe we get them. Are we nervous? Are we confident? Are we smiling? And things like that. So those things really matters. And of course, 20% is also having the technical knowledge to get the job. And of course, technical knowledge, theoretically we can learn from LinkedIn and Coursera or things like that. But then when it comes to the real life experiences, we really have to get that experience on the job.
So basically, when you are going for a job interview, the most important thing is to have a soft skills.
100%. I think I hope that answers the questions of anyone wanting to get a job. What they want to go through.
What they have to go through in order to get the job.
100%.
100%. It does perfectly make sense. I had my recent interview in one of my job, and I don't think I've shared this to anyone, but this guy, the interviewer, and he asked me a question that, how do you help your colleague who is going through hard times to see him light at the end of the tunnel? This is the question he asked. I was like, this question is so deep, man. And the quality of interview that I had to go through to get my recent job was mind-blowing. They were asking various long-term questions. It wasn't mostly about technical, but it's about how excitement, the energy, and what kind of mindset you carry in order to get that job. Like, that is what they were looking for, the mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah. The world is more turning towards what kind of quality you can bring.
Yes,
in terms of getting
those behavioral questions, like how do you react in different situation, how do you handle failure, how do you support your team, and things like that. So having those qualities, growing that qualities on the side is non-negotiable.
So when did you get your PR, by the way? And can you give us a bit of timeline?
So I came like in 2018, graduated in 2 years. So that was 2020. I got my PR in 2022, December. So basically that's like 2 years and 2 years. And then now, after getting the PR, there is like 2 to 3 years.
That is such a short period of time, looking at, so many people, especially from accounting, which is a very, very competitive environment, right? And you made it, man. That is probably the shortest time frame that someone can achieve PR in this country, right?
Yeah, that was it. Like you just keep trying and keep trying, keep doing the hard work. So on third attempt, I got my PT score. Now they have made like more harder than before. So there is more preparation and hard work needed. And at the stage NATI, I was doing for the second time. Somehow,
So you did not get in first attempt?
No, but like most people, 95% people get in the first attempt, but I was the only one maybe trying the second attempt. But when I was doing second attempt, I already got the invitation for PR, so I didn't have to worry much about NATI. But anyway, like the journey of getting PR was not fun at that time. Like it required a lot of like perseverance and hard work. You get frustrated. You have to live sometime outside.
You have to move from your original place.
Yeah, but I was lucky because I had good guidance, from the people that made it easier. Now, if I look back, I have learned so many things through that process because you get those failures, all those attempts, second, third, fourth attempt. You are struggling with the financially. After graduation, you expect like you will earn so much of money, but then all the money is going to professional year, PT, NATI test, and I also did the extra degree in telecommunication because
just for PR,
just for the PR as well. So I was like all in, and I was single that time. My wife was not there, so it was up to me to make this all happen.
Wonderful. So basically, what I learned from you is that you really struggled to get your professional skills right. And it is through that professional skills you actually didn't give up to get the job. And because from the job, the accounting field, you were able to get those scores and cracked your PT and NATI. And then because of that, you actually got your permanent residency. That's a bit of a journey, man. And I'm really inspired with that. Well, that's very interesting to learn. And I have a question now, right? Now you are well settled in this country. You have got your PR, have a really good professional job. How are you finding your job? Is that something that you like to keep doing 5 years, 10 years down the line?
I work as account manager for one of the financial services. Services Group, has offices, in across Australia. I'm very happy that I'm not just doing a job, but the goal of the company is also to help other people be good at it, the retirements. People even in 40s, 50s, they don't have enough to retire. They don't have enough assets to retire, right? And the skills that I learned previously is coming into fruition now. Like I'm able to utilize all these skills, and I can see myself working for a few years. You want to create some more options for you. You want to, have something of your own, side hustles. I also run a side hustles, which is going well. That's something long-term plans, those two things.
You got your PR through in accounting, and then you jumped from accounting to a business development role, which is more like sales.
Sales, yeah.
Right? How did you get that job, and what inspired you to get that?
After working a few years as an accountant, I believed that there is a cap of how much I can grow, because you want to constantly keep growing, right? Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, said, "Keep looking, never settle." So what I found was my true potential is in business development, where I could add more value. I could be financially more stable, because the business development role pays you according to your capability. So I was like, okay, man, I have learned throughout these years. I can utilize those skills. Then I went.
Basically, you are setting your own salary if you are in business
100%,
development.
100%.
Right? Because it depends upon how much of income that you can make to the company, and that's how they pay you.
Yeah.
And there's a commission structure which depends upon your ability.
Your ability
right?
to perform, yes.
And there's sky's the limit on that, right?
Exactly. And at my current work, those were the skills that I was able to utilize everything together. And this role has been satisfying, like financially, in terms of the mental engagement. Initially, you said that I have settled well, but yes, there is always room you can improve. There is always the next step, that you are leading for. So maybe I look like I'm settled, but there is a progress, that me and my wife, like we are progressing together.
Well, you're happy but not satisfied. You feel that
never.
There is still a lot you can do for yourself, for your family, and to the society as well.
100%. The day we are satisfied is the day is like you die. So many people like dies.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so many people dies in their 30s. They're just waiting to get buried. So we don't want to be that person. We want to keep constantly looking to improve.
That's just so much of really great and inspiring stories of yours. And one question that I want to ask you is, how much of your success do you attribute to the luck, and how much do you attribute to hard work?
Okay. Good question, Rudra. Actually, I think, when you work hard, you get lucky. When you are going through the grind, when you're struggling, you get luck as well. I believe I'm a lucky guy as well, because I was one of the 3 students who passed out the 10th exam. I was one of them. And I had my math teacher. He looked at my palm and then he said, "Bupesh, you are lucky. You will go very far in life." And I believed him. So I think I'm lucky, but at the same time, when we don't work hard, the luck doesn't favor us. The luck only favors the people who work hard.
Who works hard.
So for me as well, whatever is in my control, whatever I can do now, I do it. I remember doing PT, Rudra. When I was doing PT, it is third attempt. I'm like, okay, God, please, he listened to me. So that's when it was a good connection between me and him. When you are doing hard work, the God look after you, and they say, okay, they give you luck as well. And it is a lot to do with the people around you, the timing that you are in. We should work hard for sure. Luck is not our control, but the work is in our control. That's what I would say.
So basically, your chance of being lucky, the odds of success will be very high if you work hard, right?
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. So can you please give 3 pieces of advice or 3 principles that a new student who came to Australia today can, implement in his life and reach to a place where you are right now?
So these are the universal laws, but what I followed was there were a couple of things that I did right, maybe intentionally or not intentionally. But I would say the first is, doesn't matter, like you get better wherever you are at work, at uni, at home. You get better every day. You get better healthy, the good shape, mentally. You are getting better every day in terms of your skill, that you can get the good mindset. And it can be acquired through many sources. Like it could be like internet, it could be someone, the mentor who is supporting you. It could be some books you can read. Some podcast you can listen to. There is multiple podcasts, on Spotify, and whatever you're doing, Rudra, is going to change like many people's life. That's why I was excited that whatever we are having conversation, if this adds value to even a few people, which I believe it will happen more, thousands and hundreds of thousands of people down the line, it would be wonderful. So I would say it doesn't matter where you are, just get better. We may be busy, we may be tired, we may miss our home, which we do, but yeah, just get better. That's what I would say. Other things that I think is important is grow your network, like know more people. Like knowing more people is always beneficial.
How can they do that?
Multiple source. Like today, these days is very, very easy. Like find people online. There is a LinkedIn sources. There is a networking events. Find someone who is ahead of you in life. When I say networking, find people who is ahead of you. And sometimes our ego doesn't allow that. But then, if we find people who are like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ahead, we learn from them. So networking is non-negotiable. That's what I did. I'm not telling because they should do it, but this is what I did. I got better every day. I'm still getting better every day. I'm not there yet, financially, the leadership wise yet, but I'm getting there. And last but not the least, I would say just focus on that long-term vision. Like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We may be going through the PR issues, not having that visa, going through multiple visa, going through that assignment challenge, the missing homesickness and things like that. But think about this, have that long-term mindset. Remind yourself that why we came Australia. When we came here, we came for a better life, right?
Of course.
Stephen Covey said in his book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end in mind. So when you have an end in mind, it becomes like very easy for us to persevere through that struggle. So yeah, get better, meet new people, network with the people, see the bigger picture. Life will not be easy, but it will be worth it. Yeah.
So basically get better 1% every day, like
Yes.
work on something.
That's the idea.
If you are reading, that's good. If you are
Yes.
networking with people, that is going to help you to develop that connections, which can lead to, anything, which they have a very high potential if you connect with people who are ahead from your life.
Yeah.
And also having the end in mind, like where you exactly want to be. You want to be a professional, get a permanent residency in this country, or have a business of your own long term down the line. So having that clarity is so much important.
Exactly.
Well, that's a really good learning from you, Bupesh. So we have come to actually close off our podcast.
Yeah.
It was really great learning from you. I'm going to give an opportunity to my viewer who is watching today, and Bhupesh has agreed to that. Here's the announcement that I made earlier, right? If any of you resonated with Bhupesh's story and you feel that getting a connection with him can help you in your life, then I can help you out. You can like and also subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me why you need help from Bhupesh. This will give me a clarity if you are really serious and if you are going to value Bhupesh's time. So write that and let me know, and I'll help you introduce with Bhupesh, and where you want to take from there is up to you and how you build the relationship. I remember, having those connections, just getting a small piece of advice or suggestions or just having a reference check can completely change the trajectory of your life,
100%.
which is going to be very crucial. Bhupesh, it was truly a very inspiring conversation with you. I had a wonderful time. I deeply appreciate the time that you gave for us and added value to so many of the viewers that will be watching this show. Everyone who have watched this show, I hope you learned something and you got something out to improve a little, at least 1%. I'll be keeping and hosting such shows, so don't miss out. Please subscribe this channel. I'll be meeting another guest in next episode who is also professionally and financially successful and is going to add a lot of values in your life. So with that, thank you for listening, guys, and thank you very much, Bhupesh. It was wonderful to talk to you, and
Yeah, it
I'll
was
see you
fun.
again, my friend.
Yeah.